Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Old Man Strength. I am your host, Chris Shipley, joined by, as always, when he doesn't have a kid event going on or he's not stuck in a janky hotel in Anchorage, Alaska, Aaron Wall. How are you doing, Aaron?
Hey, I'm stuck in a janky hotel in Anchorage, Alaska right now, and I'm still here. That's why I have a beanie on my head. It's also why I have a brown paper bag as a mouse pad. Because it's a glass top table and my mouse doesn't work very well on that. I'm all about getting things done. So
that's right. There's no limits to your dedication.
That's correct. I mean, my daughter's volleyball season is over. So all of you who like the episodes where I'm not on, there's going to be less of that for a while. So sorry, you're going to have to deal with me being here more often.
Well, in your defense, Drew filled in, so it's not, it was fine. Guy stepped up 2 days or 4 days before his wedding, so got to give him some props. So
yes.
Well, this is kind of a special. We don't normally go on Thursday nights, but we picked this date because it's a pretty famous date in Iowa State lore, and we thought we would bring on the gentleman that's probably most famous for knowing about this date. This is the 32-year anniversary of Iowa State kicking the shit out of Nebraska at home. I was at the game. We figured it out. It was after my Iowa State probation, and then I was back on campus. So, we're gonna talk about that. But we're gonna talk about how he came to Iowa State, where he grew up, some other things as well. So, we are super excited to welcome Marv Seiler on the pod. Marv, welcome to Old Man Strength.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I got to give a shout out to Keith. Keith is always great about getting me hooked up to guys that I grew up watching and are kind of in my age. So special thanks to Keith Schrage for getting that taken care of. So
yeah, absolutely.
Marv, let's kind of start because we like to kind of dive into stuff that we wouldn't normally dive into right away or whatever. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and kind of what that was like growing up?
Sure. I grew up in Joliet, Illinois. I was the youngest of 5 kids. Grew up in a neighborhood that, I think each house to the side of us had 5 kids. One had 7 kids. So there was just a ton of kids to play with. And I believe I was probably the youngest kid in that group. So any sports that were played outside, I was always that young kid doing the, let me play, can I play? I think that had a big impact on just being able to do stuff with the older kids. Went to a Catholic school growing up, and then a public school, Joliet West High School, which I went to church every day. It was one of the things I had to do. However, my older brother, I would see riding his bike while I was in church, coming in there. Always enjoyed that because I was looking out the window anyway. But there would be my brother showing up late for church. But anyway, I was an altar boy, did the whole thing, and then went to, like I said, Joliet West High School. Played football and baseball there. 1 year basketball, realized pretty quick, short dude wasn't going to be my thing. So just concentrated on those two sports.
So shaped pretty early with football. Tell me about playing football in Joliet High School, especially in a Catholic school. I mean, if it's anything like Des Moines here, Des Moines Dowling is obviously a powerhouse here. So they were recruiting kids. Even when I was going to school, they were recruiting kids back in the late 80s. So
yeah, we had the Joliet Catholic High School, and in essence, they did the same thing. My football actually started playing flag football for the Catholic Youth Organization, CYO League, which we played on Saturday mornings, and it was flag football. I didn't actually put on pads until I was a freshman in high school. But yeah, the Catholic school did reach out at a basketball camp, actually, that I was at, and gave us the whole, hey, we can help you out. So, but I chose to go to the public school. And
okay.
At the time, it was boys only.
Okay.
Public school. So
sure. So that makes that fed into your decision.
The logic, yeah.
That makes total sense. Sure.
Right.
Did you always play quarterback through high school?
Yeah. From freshman all the way through. Played one varsity game as a sophomore, but that was due to injury. And then I actually thought I was going to end up as a baseball player. Started as a shortstop as a sophomore on the baseball team. So that's where actually I thought my athletic career was going to take me, was to baseball. And when I got the recruiting call from Lindsey Hughes, it was a case of, hey, you interested in playing in against teams like Oklahoma and Nebraska? Well, that sounds like a great deal, and we'll pay for school. And baseball at the time, and it's probably still that way, is not, can't get a full scholarship for the most part unless you're God's gift, which I was not.
So was Iowa State the only school, or what other schools were recruiting you?
So Iowa State was the only D1 school that actually recruited me. There was the small schools around, and there was actually College of St. Francis, which at the time was a big powerhouse in the NAIA world at the time. So that was a possibility for me as well. And the thought would be to play football and baseball there. But when Iowa State approached, like I said, it was a offer I couldn't refuse. Then I did end up having on my recruiting chip, I did have breakfast with the baseball coach with the thought of potentially playing baseball here as well. But when I got here, realizing how much work that football is, it just wasn't a thing that I even wanted to attempt with the number of hours. So it became football for life.
And you go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was going to say, who was the baseball coach then? Do you remember?
Bobby Randall, if I remember right.
Okay.
Back when we still had a baseball team.
Yeah, because I talked to the baseball coach, and I don't think it was him. Somebody different. It was like the last 2 years. I want to say Smith, but I can't remember right off the top of my head. Because I started in '96, and of course that was the last year of the baseball team.
Right.
But I ended up not playing, but I did talk to him for a while. But I couldn't remember I was just curious if it was the same coach still at that point or not.
No, from what I remember, it was Bobby Randall, if I remember right. So,
when you got to Iowa State, tell us about that transition, what that was like as a freshman entering in that program.
Yeah, so I believe we were Coach Walden's either second recruiting class or first recruiting class, and for as you know, they had the recruiting violations, or we were limited on scholarships for that particular, or the years, what was it, 87 through 90? I can't remember. But so when I was showing up, it was just a ton of new kids, walk-ons, scholarships, everybody. And just as a freshman in college in general, you're trying to get acclimated to everything that takes place, from two-a-days to film to working out, and then going to class on top of that. So actually freshman year was kind of a blur, just getting a handle of everything.
Did you, were you a freshman in 89? Is that right? And then red
88.
or 88. Okay.
So I was a freshman in 88, and then basically just was on the scout team that particular year. And then 89, I was actually a traveling redshirt. It was my redshirt year, but because we had such low numbers, I actually traveled with the team. Did get to make the trip down to Tulane, which was kind of cool. Got to spend, an hour or two walking around Bourbon Street, which was cool. So,
yeah.
But go ahead.
No, that's all right. I just, that's when I entered in 89. So we're pretty close in time wise there when I got there. And I believe Oberg was the quarterback in 89. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. When I showed up, we had Derek DeGennaro, and then it was Brett Oberg. Actually, when I came in, we had 4 quarterbacks come in with my group. It was Brett Oberg, Matt Whitmire, Chris Peterson, and myself that came in at that time in 88.
There's some talented quarterbacks there then with you and Chris, and then Brett.
Right. And then Brett was a junior college transfer, and then he basically, I believe he ended up starting in 88, if I remember right. And then this season through 89.
Yeah, that seems right to me. Yeah. So I lost my train. I thought I was going to ask you a question. About this time last year we had Coach Walden on, and that dude's memory is like a steel trap. I could not believe
it's way better than mine.
I could not believe how well he wasn't taking the hits like you were, Marv. That's the thing. So,
yeah, but he didn't have the helmets we did either. So
that's true. We heard a story from Tim Kriesman about some dented helmets and things like that in the time too. So I'm not so sure that equipment was super great back then either. So
right.
And the rock hard turf that you guys were on.
Oh my God.
Tell us a good Jim Walden story.
Oh boy. That dude would he always had his thing of chewing tobacco in his job while we practiced, and you always had to watch out when you got us around in the group and huddled up, because you never know where that spit was going to fly. You kind of had to watch out for that. Back when we started being, or when he turned into the quarterback coach, right, my senior year, just some of the meetings, just some of the jokes he would say, always in a good mood for the most part. But yeah, and then of course the Bartles and James things with Johnny Orr, and I can't really think of one great story though.
That's okay. That's all right.
Speaking of helmets though, I see the Script Cyclones helmet behind your shoulder there.
Oh, in the background there, yeah.
Is that like an original helmet, or is that a reproduction?
No, I think that's a reproduction. It doesn't have any padding on the inside. I think I went to one of those, at the end of year, they had the equipment sales, and I think that was out there for one of those.
Okay.
I just wondered if maybe you got to keep your original helmet somehow.
No, I didn't. I know some guys did. I didn't really have a need for it. Wasn't going to put it on anymore. So, but yeah, no, that's just a replica. I do like the scripted Cyclone as far as the logo. Really enjoyed when they did the white one this year. I thought that was cool.
You and everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my question is do you realize how revered those helmets and that logo is to such a younger generation now too? So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite helmets.
Yeah, if you don't like the script Cyclones, you're anti-American. I didn't
Right?
say
The basketball team now has the script Cyclones on there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I did
So.
see Iowa State equipment today tweeted out a little teaser of just some dude cooking up a storm, and I believe it's to lead us to believe that they're cooking up something. So I'm gonna guess something's gonna get revealed this weekend for football uniforms. So
that's funny. You know, back in the day, we had two uniforms. You had your red home jersey and your white away jersey, and that was it. We didn't worry about uniforms and the same helmet every year, or the same helmet every game. We didn't get different colors.
Does the culture now like make you think sometimes, Marv? Like back then, you guys had two uniforms. You didn't give two shits what the walkout music was. You didn't know what the entrance was. And now fans give way too much care about that kind of stuff too. Does it kind of blow your mind a little bit that we worry about stuff that seems kind of silly?
Yeah, exactly. There's way too many choices out there. I don't think we cared what we wore. Throw us out there in t-shirts and pads. We'd have been fine back in the day, but you know, that's a thing now. And I guess if you like different styles of uniforms, that's your thing, then more power to you. But yeah, definitely way too many options out there. And I think for us, it was, hey, it's a sense of normalcy and pride to wear that same jersey every time. You know, the jersey shouldn't matter how you play. That always cracks me up when we wear the black, and it, you know, we're going to play harder because of the uniform we put on. That's I don't believe in that, and that we shouldn't. We should play hard all the time, regardless of what we're wearing.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you moving into the starting role. I believe that was after Chris as well, right? Chris had left as well.
So yeah, Chris, let's see, he was done in 91 or 90. Yeah, no, 91. He got injured in 91. Yeah.
You played in 6 games in 91.
Yep. And then after Chris, then we made the move to somewhere Kevin Caldwell fit in there for a while with injuries. We had Bobby Utter, Kevin Caldwell, and myself, I think, splitting time in the 91 season. And
Bobby Utter, I totally forgot about that dude.
Yeah.
That's a name from the Black. I totally forgot about him.
Yep. Because he came in, I want to say 91, and became the starter in 91. Actually, 91 and 92, he was the starter.
And then you moved into the starting role.
And then I did not move. Let's see. In 92, Bobby was still there. And then about the Oklahoma State game, I believe, probably the 6th game maybe of the year, he got knocked out at Oklahoma State with a snot bubble coming off the field, concussion, and he was done for the season. And then Donnie Smith was also with us that year. And so he and I split the rest of the time, basically for the rest of the year. In the Oklahoma State game, we basically split time for the rest of that. And then we played, who did we play? Missouri, I think, after that, of which Donnie started that. And then I went in the second quarter and played the rest of the game that, or the last 3 quarters, which we ended up winning that ball game. And then the game after that, that's a good wall in the story, I guess. So I went in against Missouri and played the last 3 quarters. We won the game, victory, and then we went to practice. This was a Thursday night game on ESPN, and I believe it was Tuesday night. Walking off the field, coach called me on. He's like, "Marvin, I got to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, you deserve every reason to start this ball game, but I'm not going to start you." So I was like, "You know what? That's fine. I haven't started for 4.5 years. You get paid to make that decision. I don't." So that was how it worked. We ended up losing that particular game on Thursday night. Donnie Smith did get to do the sprinkler though, if you remember that.
I don't.
He scored a touchdown and pulled the sprinkler move.
Oh, okay.
On TV, so that was funny. But yeah, so then we got to the Nebraska week, and I believe he told me on Tuesday that I would start. So then it was from there, started against Nebraska and then Colorado to finish out the season.
Well,
I'm looking at the schedule. I pulled it up real quick here. I did not realize just how close and competitive a lot of this season was.
Yeah,
like there were 14-point games and a 50-47 game in 1992 is
right.
wild
that
against
Kansas game.
Kansas.
Yep.
6 points to Oklahoma State. A lot of really competitive games, really close from instead of being 4-7, it could have been very easily something different. I didn't realize.
Yeah, that was a weird year. And if you look at the beginning of the year, that was the year we lost to UNI, which, geez, that was something like 100 years or something like that. Or maybe not that long, I don't know. But so in the same year that we beat number 5 or number 7 Nebraska, we also lose to UNI at the same time. So in the Kansas game you mentioned, we had Jim Thompson running the fumble Rooski, which they outlawed after 92.
I remember that. I remember that play. Actually, I think I played that for. We had Gene Williams and Mike Malloy and George on, and I think I played that. I think I played that play for them. I found it on YouTube. You can be amazed what you can find on YouTube.
Oh so,
yeah.
That's weird. I didn't even realize it. I was looking at it and I didn't even pay attention to the Northern Iowa because it's the fourth game of the season in the schedule, which I was like, I'm like, they didn't play Northern Iowa. I go back and look. I'm like, they beat Ohio in the first game of the year. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, it's the fourth game of the year, which is kind of wild because that would almost never happen anymore.
Right. And we only played 11 games then as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
and then with the Big 8, we had the 7 conference games. So.
Right, and then you always played Iowa.
Right.
So yeah, Aaron, mentions that a lot of your games were close, and I have gotten more and more. I obviously I was there during that era, but as I've talked to Keith and some of the other guys from that era, I don't think a lot of people realize how good those teams really were. You guys were just really hampered by the circumstances that you had from the previous administration and the previous coach. But you guys had a lot of talent on those teams, and you guys really played hard and were good teams. So it bothers me a little bit when I hear fan bases now talk about, well, I don't want to have anything to do with that logo because of the era of the time they were so bad. Do you ever feel like when you hear that, you just want to go, oh, hold on, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, no, like you said, we had the scholarship issues, and without the manpower, and it took a long time. I think now we have. If your main starter got hurt, there wasn't a lot of depth that we could even choose from, unless we were picking freshmen. Playing, which back in our day, that's exactly what we did. Which next man up was probably a freshman who didn't have a lot of experience, and yet we still were able to remain close in a lot of very good football games. And I know, like the Oklahoma game, I think you guys have talked about this in the past, where if we had a kicker, right, we potentially win that game.
Yeah. So Coach Walton actually told that story that he told, because I asked him about it, and he said, I guess he suspended him because the previous game he was punting into a position coach's area.
Yeah, that was my coach's drill.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Yeah. That was Norm Anderson's drill. So.
Yeah, and so I believe Coach Walden said, next time that happens, I'll just tell him he's going to run some laps or something. I'm not going to sit a kicker. So Cyclone Drew calls you a Cyclone legend. He missed you by 1 year. So
Nice.
So yeah, that those teams were ultra competitive, were really good. I think what I want to do is I want to take a quick break. Let's get a couple words from our sponsors, and then I want to come back and let's talk about the Oklahoma game. And get your feelings on it. Let's talk about during the game, what was going on, things like that. Let's get your memories of that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's get a word from our sponsors. Obviously, we are broadcasting from the AKC Andrew Downs studio, but let's get a word from Revelton Distilling Company and Greenberry Realty.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
When energy meets precision, anything is possible.
I'm Carter Hawley, the Chief Energy Officer of the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm full of energy on and off the court, but nothing gives me more energy than helping families find their dream home. And that's where Green Beret Realty comes in. They're more than just realtors. They're a team dedicated to getting things right for you and your family, just like we get it right on the court.
No basket. Fouls on the floor before the shot. Out of bounds.
Come on! Can you believe that? You can't take that away from me.
That call was absolutely terrible. Are you guys cautiously trying to be this bad? I mean, does your mom not love you?
Have you seen how old my partner is? My back hurts already from carrying him all night. And I've heard enough out of you.
So you're gone. Fine.
Jim, are you blind? Basket's good. We've got a three-pointer. Sometimes it takes a team to get the call right. And when you're buying a home, you want a team that makes all the right calls. That is Green Beret Realty. And here's the best part. When you buy or sell a home through Dan at Green Beret Realty and mention this ad, he'll make a donation to the We Will Collective, helping student athletes like me thrive on and off the court.
That call's so easy, even we can make it.
Green Beret Realty, because getting the call right means everything.
All right, and we're back. That reminds me, before we do this, what's your thoughts on NIL now that being a former?
I get it. I understand why they're doing it. I think it's a good thing if you're an athlete. Back in the day, we got our scholarship, we got a little weekend stipend money, and hopefully that got you through your college career. Almost, I think, universities just pay them like employees at this point. Honestly, I think that might be what we come to, because I think the NIL is just out of control at this point. Is it ruining college football? Meh. Yes and no. Kids moving on. The same thing with the transfer portal. Kids moving just to get more money, get the best deal. That's a job. So why don't we treat it like a job and just have the university pay them as employees?
No, I agree. It's got to move to that at some point. So, all right. So Iowa State football put out a video today as part of their Jack Trice Stadium Greatest Moments here, and this is a little bit of highlights. Does it bother you when people call it an upset? I mean, I guess technically it is.
Oh God, no. Yeah. Well, it's funny now. I was it was probably about 2 years ago, and I was being introduced to a kid who was probably about uh, 10 years old, and his dad was, he's like, "Hey, this is the guy who beat Nebraska back in '92," and the kid just looks at me and he's like, "Yeah, so what? Everyone does that." It wasn't a big deal to him. So
It's because they moved to an easier conference now. They moved to the
exactly. So. No, but it doesn't bother me at all to call it an upset.
All right, well, let's take a look at what the Iowa State football team put together here, and then let's talk about this game.
In 1992, Jack Trice Stadium played host to one of the great upsets in Cyclone history. Number 7, Nebraska had no answer for Marv Seiler, the fifth-year senior making his first career start, rushed for 144 yards, including this late 74-yard burst to set up the clinching touchdown. The defense did the rest, shutting down Tommy Frazier and the Huskers in a 19-10 Cyclone victory.
So that Tommy Frazier guy was pretty mediocre, huh?
Yeah, he wasn't very good.
So the first question I want to ask is how did that guy catch you?
Yeah.
He ran faster. That's how.
He ran faster. Yeah. I was not exactly the fastest guy on the field. Here's what I say. I was fast enough to run 78 yards against probably 8 NFL defensive Nebraskans.
There you go.
Fast enough to do that.
How short of getting to the end zone were you there?
2 yards. Which is my friends like to remind me of that little tidbit.
So let's talk about going into that game and that day. What was your morning like, and what was the nerves going into that? Or, I mean, they were what, number 2?
7.
They were
7
and 5, depending on which poll you were at. But no, the idea was right. They were on a roll. They had beat who was it, Kansas and I think Colorado or somebody by 52 points combined or something like that prior to them playing us. And for the most part, my thought was just don't get slaughtered. Give them a game. Make sure they know that they couldn't just show up and they had to play us. I did, I've heard stories of Oklahoma and Jamal Holloway eating hot dogs on the sidelines because they were up 70 to whatever. But I didn't want that to occur. I wanted to give them a game, control the clock, keep Tommy Frazier off the field, and that's kind of what we did.
Well, I think it was 144 yards rushing for you
right.
In that game. So, I mean, that's, in that era, right? A lot of ground and pound, a lot less throwing than there is now. The clock keeps moving, and that's the recipe, right, for upset cities.
Right, absolutely. If we can keep their vaulted offense off the field, well, then they can't score. And kudos to our defense, who just played outstanding that particular day. 10 points to a Nebraska team that was on a roll. That is just fantastic. The one thing offensively, I think, and people don't really notice this in the stat line, it was no fumbles for us that day. And through a lot, I wouldn't call it luck, but by the roll of the ball, I think the very first drive, we put the ball on the ground 3 times without ever losing it. And I think another 2 times the ball went on the ground. So in essence, we had 5 fumbles, but we covered them all. That's a totally different game if we don't recover the ball.
During that game, as it's happening, when do you start realizing here that you might actually be playing with them on an even level and have a shot here?
I think going in at halftime, the score was 12-10, and we had been moving the ball pretty much all day. I don't think we punted at all in the first half. So I think if it was more of if we can just continue to ground and pound, like you said, there's a shot that we could actually do this.
Hey, Chris, you want to wager a guess at how many passes Marv threw in this game?
7.
Lower.
Didn't get a lot of pass plays called, did you?
3 of 4 for 26 yards. Just aerial attack. So
yeah,
I pulled up the box score. You had 144 yards. The next on 24 carries, ton of carry. I mean, running backs don't get 24 carries in a game half time anymore. And then you had guys with 105, 66, 24, 18, 12, and 4. So well over 300 yards of rushing.
Right.
If you add all that up.
That's that was that's a groundhog getting the, I think he had the 106 you're talking about. And that's kind of, if you talk to the coaches, when they're talking about the triple option, they're kind of looking for those two positions, quarterback, fullback, to have 100 yards rushing. And that's, your tailback will fill in with the rest. But that's exactly what we did that day. We got our quota of 100 yards and went from there.
And he completed just as many passes as Frazier did. Frazier is 3 of 12.
So the side note to that is, what type of passes were they? The 3 completions. Do you know that answer?
Oh no, I'm just looking at this sheet. Swing passes out of
the. They were all shuffle passes. So literally underneath, like the option, just forward. Yeah. I believe I threw the one I missed was probably a 10-yard out, and it sailed out of bounds. That was the only overhand pass I threw. We did have a screen pass called, and the running back got caught in traffic, and so we never got to even throw the screen. And that was when who was it? Perella got called for unnecessary roughness, or not unnecessary, unsportsmanlike conduct, because he pointed at the sidelines after he did it. So, and that we were going to have to punt the ball, I believe. So that was a big play for them too.
Yeah, I'll bet Osborne lost his mind.
Yeah, I would think so.
That's just fascinating. So the game ends, the crowd is wild. I probably have heard, I guess I'll ask it this way. Obviously, the goalposts are torn down. They're carried to Lake Laverne. How many people have come up to you and said they're one of the people that tore down the goalpost? Because I feel like that's one of those urban legends. Like everybody was there.
I was there, man. I was part of the goalpost crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that quite a bit. Actually, I do have a piece under that Cyclone helmet back there. They gave the seniors like a 4-inch piece of the goalpost. They cut it up and made a nice little plaque for it. So that's kind of a cool little memento to have from. But you're right. Yeah, there is a story, or seems like a story. Yeah, I was there. I carried it all the way to the Lake Laverne, or I carried it halfway, or I don't know if they did or not, but it's a good story.
I would venture to guess that you never tire of hearing people talk to you about this game or want to talk to you about it.
You know what? There was a period where it got a little old, probably 5-6 years, and it was, to me, it was for the in essence the wrong reason. Our program wasn't doing well enough that we had anything else to talk about. And then McCarney came in and turned things around, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'll talk about it now. Let's,
sure.
Now that we have something else.
Do you still, as a former player with Campbell there, do you get a lot of chance to visit the team and go to the facility and things like that, or is it pretty open for guys like you?
It's pretty much an open invitation. If we want, you just make a call and say, hey, I'm coming in. I have not taken advantage of. I live relatively close and have season tickets, but the spring game is kind of where we kind of get an open. We get to have breakfast with coach and all of the alumni, former football players, and get to go out on the field, and we take tours of the locker room and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's I would say it's fairly open to football alumni.
Somebody on Twitter, when I put out that we were going to talk to you, had replied to me and gave me a story that he was sitting in the Souk Up End Zone Club, and a woman came down and sat next to him in a Marv Seiler uniform or jersey. And he was so jealous that somebody had a Marv Seiler jersey. He pestered her and asked her where she got it. And she said, "Oh, it's my husband's."
That's a good one.
That was his Marv Seiler story that he told us. So
nice. So there's a similar story. There was, I believe, the last game of last year. I'm sitting with, who is it? My son and Mark Dunn, and we sit in the Souk Up End Zone, and this guy walks in, and sits down right in front of me, and he he has the away jersey on from our era, and he's got Seiler on the back of his jersey. And my Mark looks, he taps him on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, do you know where that guy is right now?" And again, he's like, "No." He's like, "Well, turn around. He's right behind you." And that was fantastic. So he ended up having me sign his jersey, but that was very cool because that was what, 31 years later.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, those jerseys are pretty freaking popular. I mean, anybody they would cut somebody to get one of those jerseys right now.
Right.
So for sure. Absolutely.
So you were in when you played, and obviously the Nebraska game, probably a full stadium at that time, or pretty darn close to it, at 40 some odd thousand.
Yeah, 42 at the time.
Yeah. And now that you go to games and you're now sitting in 61,500, I mean, what's the difference that you notice in the atmosphere then as to now?
Well, yeah, one, the stands are full. I don't recall, and it's maybe just because I was busy playing, or I don't recall the loudness of the stadium, and that's obviously to more people being there. But I don't recall the organized cheers. We had the Cyclone Power thing that we do now. I guess I don't remember a lot of it when we played, but certainly the grass is the biggest thing for me. I'd have given anything to play on grass because that turf we had back in the day was rough. Yeah, if you got your shin burned or turf burn at the beginning of the season, boy, it was a tough one to ever have it heal throughout. But no, grass, a great field. I would give anything to play on that now.
Yeah, because that's one thing I've always, it was still obviously open when we were there. That had bowled in the end zone. I think the play's different because the wind is different now. It doesn't fall through there as bad. I don't notice the crazy wind that we used to get in there. It's just different. I don't get back to as many games, so a lot of my observations on TV, and that's why I wanted to ask. But
yeah, no, that's I suppose I never played with the end zone closed in like it was, so I would assume that, like you mentioned, the wind is definitely going to play different now, right? We had that big north-south wind tunnel when we played, and so that's probably a good thing as well, to cut down on the wind in that particular stadium, because wind out of the north, and it was ferocious. We played, oh Jesus, the Colorado Snow Bowl game that was in '90. That was just ridiculous. So that's cold weather games. Believe it or not, That was not the coldest game I ever played in. The coldest game that I ever played in was at Kansas State, and it wasn't temperature wise, but it was kind of a rainy, misty just throughout the game, and just right on the verge of freezing. So when you lifted your shoes off of the turf, basically it froze, and it was almost like, being on special teams, you didn't play a lot, and it was rough to actually take off your coat and run out there and try to hit somebody because you were just so damn cold. And then Jesus, the shower afterward, hot water and cold body. You get the prickly needles all over, and that was the worst game I've ever been in.
I had to pull these off my wall. I do have a couple photos of that Colorado game.
Oh yeah,
game. This one and this one here that I've printed up and put in my basement down here. But nice. Yeah, you can see the stands are pretty empty back there. So,
right. If you could make it, you got in.
Right. Yeah, it was one of those deals. Yeah. I spent plenty of games in that stadium during that era. I was telling my daughter just the other day when we were tailgating, I said, when I tailgated, we were just south of the end zone. We were just south of the exit, where all the high donor people are now. And it was all grass. And I think we may have had a van back there with a pony keg in there. And we would take one can of pop, pour it out, and then get in the van and fill the pop can up with beer. So it looked like we were drinking pop. As freshmen in college. But yeah, it's a different atmosphere now. It's like I tailgated there when I was like 18, and maybe I might be able to afford it when I'm like 68, maybe. I don't know. But but the changes that have happened at that stadium and things like that just have to blow your mind.
Oh, absolutely. And now they're building the Sci-Town as well. I'm curious how that's going to end up, whether, if that's going to improve things. I know from a tailgating perspective, boy, I was kind of sad to see that whole middle section being torn out for the tailgating, because what a great atmosphere that was, just for all the tents. And you could walk, from, Beach Street all the way down to University, and just tailgates everywhere as far as you could see. But
yeah, it's hard to beat the tailgate scene. I wonder about the Sci-Town a little bit, in that both sides on either side are going to be tailgate still and parking. Like, to me, if I wasn't tailgating and I wanted to go party up there, I'm not so sure that I would want to just get through all there. Like, that center area where Sci-Town is, have to be an absolute disaster to even get to, let alone during game time. So we're going to transition here in a little bit, but I want to ask you just kind of a philosophical question. What has football done for you in your life? What has it taught you in life?
The first thing with basically time management, between the practice, you don't ever want to be late. I think that's one of the biggest things, is always be on time. And hey, guess what? If you fail, you're always going to get another shot to play another game. You know what? Just because you lose, the world keeps going. And you know what? 10 years from now, unless you happen to beat Nebraska, no one's going to remember what happened. So.
And that's 32 years later. So
right.
That yeah, an upset in Nebraska get you a little bit of time.
My 15 minutes have lasted quite a long time.
There's a few, and every fan base has those moments, right?
Right.
That immortalize somebody in history. Iowa State's got a few too. Guys that, like, everybody remembers your game. Obviously, everybody's going to remember Woody scoring in 2011. Right. I think it was 11. But there's Seneca's run, and there's specific moments that everybody remembers. and it's amazing how often that some of those things are by, the unsung guys that are very important to teams, but may not be stars of the teams, because it just shows how much football is the ultimate team sport, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It's like, who's that bowling ball kid from Kansas that caught the 2-point convert? Casey or something like that, Jared Casey. Like, why do I know a Kansas football player's name? Because he caught a touchdown or a 2-point conversion or whatever against Texas when Kansas beat him. Like, should I know that? No, but you remember those things.
Right.
Right.
So what are you doing now, Marv? What do you do now?
Let's see. I work as I'm in data analyst is what I do now. Been in the technical field when I since college. Graduated with back in the day it was you had to have a management major with an emphasis in management of information systems. So when I got out, I started as I was a developer for a while. I understood code, but writing it wasn't exactly one of my favorite things to do. So I ended up becoming an analyst, and doing requests or business requirements and that kind of things. But that's what I've been doing basically for the past 17 or 23 years, whatever it's been since I've been working.
Yeah, those computer classes back then are slightly different. I remember I took a computer science 101 and had to take it twice because I could not figure out how to do the macros in Lotus 1-2-3. I was completely baffled by macros in 1-2-3. I thought they were the dumbest things ever. Why should I write these 25 code keystrokes just so I can have a shortcut to hit enter and whatever? Like, that seems stupid to me. So,
right.
But somehow I parlayed that into a 20-year IT career. So I don't know what that was. So
right.
I ended up being in IT anyways. So yeah, for sure. Okay, we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to do a couple more quick segments here. We're going to ask you what we call the Kyle Lehman Wintrust Mortgage question of the pod. I'm assuming Aaron does not have a question because he's probably not prepared. Is that correct, Aaron?
I mean, yeah, doesn't mean I can't make one up.
Okay, so Aaron can make one up. What we're going to do is we're going to ask you this question, Marv. You'll hold your answer. We'll get a word from Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. And then when we come back, we'll get your answer. So go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Well, this is going to be more in depth for you personally, as to the things you enjoy doing in your spare time. Like right now, I'm in Alaska and it's for work. So just think about what you do, and tell us a little bit about do you play golf? What do you do? Like, what are your favorite things to do outside of going to Iowa State football games, obviously?
Got it.
Okay. Let's get a word from Kyle. We'll come back with Marv's answer.
Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your home, or if it's simply time to renovate the one you're already living in, you need an experienced mortgage professional to help you analyze your financing options and to make sure the closing goes smoothly. And that's exactly what you get when you call Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Kyle's experience and expertise, coupled with Wintrust's rates and programs, ensures you'll get the mortgage that's right for you. You may even qualify for down payment assistance. Before you reach out to a realtor, call Kyle and get pre-qualified, empowering you to start shopping for the home of your dreams. Call Kyle at 515-473-0546. Kyle Lehman Wintrust Mortgage, 515-473-0546.
All right, and we're back. All right, Marv, what's your favorite hobby to do outside of work that doesn't involve Iowa State?
Right now, outside of work, one of my favorite hobbies is actually to go fishing. Been doing that like since I was a kid. That's how my father and I connected. We'd go fishing, and that was the best of times for me, is when I was fishing with him. So that's one of the things. The other thing I do in the summer is I play old man baseball for the Mid-Iowa Baseball League. which is actual real live, over the hand, real pitching baseball. Hardball, wooden bats, Major League Baseball rules. And I play in 2 leagues there, a 40 and over league, and then a 48 and over league. And that's basically Monday and Wednesday nights, 2 games a week. Really enjoy doing that. Great group of guys out there. And the funny thing about that, especially the older group, is the pregame stretching / applying ointments to all the body areas. And then recently, my son and I just picked up pickleball as well, so we're just starting on that path. But yeah, I've tried that golf thing, and man, that's a frustrating sport. I can do it, but man,
it is. I mean, I pulled 2 muscles just listening to you talk about playing an overhill baseball game. So.
All I could think of was I can't even think of his name right now. I'm drawing a blank, but the guy from Major League, the old pitcher.
Oh, Ed Harris. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Over his body.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of these 2 will give you a 2 or 3 inches drop on your curveball. So,
quick follow-up question then, because fishing. What's your best fish story?
Oh man. So my father and I took a trip up to Lake Vermilion in Minnesota. We were fishing, I think, for smallmouth, and he happened to hook into what ended up being a I don't know, I think it was a 40-inch northern, but he had a very small spinning rod with 4-pound test on, and he managed to land that thing. And it was windy. He had me, it was almost like shark fishing is the way it was, because they had me starting up, the motor, and we had to follow him and get to him. But that was an enjoyable time doing that.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
So do you live in Central Iowa then?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Des Moines.
Oh, okay. We're I live just south of Des Moines in Norwalk, so.
Yeah, I'm just west of Cumming.
Oh well. What do you know?
There.
Had I known that you were that close, well, we'll have to grab a drink sometime. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this is our final segment. So this is more of a donation segment that we do here. We are gonna STFU, and for us old people, that's short for shut the fuck up. And we're gonna let you say whatever you want. It's any topic. You can give a piece of advice. You can talk trash to any Hawkeyes that might be listening. You can do what you ever want. But before we do that, we'll get a word from Steph Copley, who kind of inspired this segment, and invite anybody that's listening to make a donation to the Young Women's Resource Center here in Des Moines. So when we come back, Aaron and I will STFU, and we'll let you kind of close out the show here, Marv.
Perfect.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
All right. And on top of that, we are currently at Three Beards Media raising money for the Oak Park Elementary School drive for their kids for deodorant and toothpaste and things like that. So check out our social media out there. You can see where you can donate, whether it's through Venmo or an Amazon wish list. We'd love to be able to help out those kids at Oak Park Elementary School here in Des Moines too. So, okay, Marv, this is where we kind of shut up and we let you kind of close out the show and give us some piece of wisdom or say whatever you want.
Sure. I would say, at least from, we talked about what football has taught me. One of the things is, for me at least, is to always be prepared for whatever you think you may do. And by that, I mean, do your homework. If you need to, whatever, do it. Just don't make excuses. If you're, even if you don't think you have a chance, guess what? You do. Because I sat for 4.5 years, and I learned while I was waiting, because one day you will get your chance. So that's what I learned.
Perfect. Great. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Old Man Strength on the Three Beards Media Network. Appreciate everybody that's listening. Check out our other pods. We had quite a week this week. Side of the Storm went yesterday, I believe. We have Ball Don't Lie tonight. We do have Hawk's Eye View, which went as well. And we just keep rolling along here. So, Aaron, do you have anything else to close out?
I gotta say, Chris, I don't know how many years into this Three Beards Media thing we are, but I think we're getting pretty good at putting commercials together for people.
I think we are.
Outside of your acting, I think all of the commercials that we did during this are pretty good. I don't know. We might actually be professionals at this.
We might be professional. Dan McCartney called us professionals once. And we do have a new pod coming out. It's actually a kind of a retool, but we've got some cool little promos that we filmed for that we're going to start launching next week too. So keep an eye on our social media. Marv, it was a real pleasure to meet you and to talk to you. And I would love a chance to meet you in person sometime here in Norwalk. I'll bring over the Cyclone ambulance. I'll let you check out. I've got a branded Cyclone ambulance. It's all done inside and out. I'd love for you to see, and I might even have you sign inside of it so I can have Marv Seiler's autograph inside there.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Daytime Emmys. We're not ready for daytime, Keith. We're late night time is what we are. So absolutely. All right, guys, awesome. we're going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody listening. Marv, thank you so much. Big weekend for the Cyclones. Hawks are off. I mean, they were off last week too, but that's another story. So take my shot before I get out of here. All right, everybody, have a great night.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. Go Cyclones.
See ya.